We are joined by our former Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, as our senior counsel for global affairs. And Secretary Pompeo, you made news a few months ago when you challenged Randi Weingarten, who is testifying today on Capitol Hill, to a debate and called her the most dangerous person in the country. We now have a new report that she was much more deeply involved with the CDC's decisions on school reopening and even keeping schools closed than was previously known. Just to kind of go back to that previous tweet, Secretary Pompeo, just how much damage do you think the influence of Weingarten has had on the children of the United States?
Well, Randi Weingarten is the singular most important person in keeping the teachers' unions in power. And the teachers' unions all across this country have been a horrible influence on our students. There's not a single kid in the Chicago school system at 20 of the schools at any age that can read or do math at grade levels. Baltimore, big urban environments. Randi Weingarten has been at the center of driving kids away from their parents and driving teachers to care more about something other than educating their kids. And so we talked about Randi Weingarten being dangerous because you know this, Jordan, and your listeners and viewers know this. There's little that's more important than passing down basic skills, American greatness, and the central idea of America to the next generation. And she has walked us away from it. And during this pandemic, we saw it. And now she's going to be asked about it today. She was working in cahoots with the Biden administration to keep our schools closed when they knew it was safe to reopen them. Paramedics, firefighters were all out working, but teachers were kept out of the schools because Randi Weingarten and the Biden administration chose to deny those kids 2 years of their education.
This report shows that she was coordinating with the American Teacher Federation that she oversees, messaging, public releases, press releases with the CDC. But it also is like, it's one thing for the CDC to deal with the union and you've got to reopen, but ultimately they're the scientists. They should just be able to make the decision. And it seems like there's people inside the CDC who need to answer for this as well.
Oh, yes. No, the accountability must rest on those that were actually responsible. Your point is absolutely right. The decision makers, the folks who own this decision, isn't Randi Weingarten. It just turns out, Jordan, that she is so inside that circle. She is so vital to the politics of this administration that they can't cross her, that she had more influence on the outcome of this decision than people that you and I are paying as American taxpayers. And that's what this current revelations have. We knew it was true. We watched her give speeches. We watched the Biden administration respond to her every beck and call. But now we can see the documents where they were working so closely together that she was, in fact, more important than the very government officials that were responsible for what happened. And those in office, those who are elected officials and those who are political appointees need to be held accountable for letting her to get away with that and taking away this important educational opportunity for our kids.
I mean, she was even involved into the reopening and when the reopening was halted in 2021, the full reopening. I mean, there's phone calls going back that day, emails going back that day. I mean, it went to the last moment as if she, everything had to get her green light. I wanted to play this too, because I think it goes to the bigger issue here. It's the bigger battle. We talked about parental rights a lot. And we've seen parents engage more than ever before. I think that's great. We've been preaching that, the ACLJ, since our founding, that school boards are the place to start, always the place to start, and very important, and how they impact your culture and your whole country, really. But President Biden said this, when he was at the National and State Teacher of the Year celebration. And again, these words can seem nice and friendly, but then when you know what they're really trying to do, let's play it for people so they can take a listen.
Rebecca put a teacher's creed into words when she said, "There's no such thing as someone else's child. No such thing as someone else's child. Our nation's children are all our children."
Again, Secretary Pompeo, we know that unfortunately their bigger strategy here was not just nice words. It's that they're trying to say, and we've seen laws in Washington State that say if you don't agree with us, we're going to take your minor away from you.
Jordan, this is not about being kind and generous and knowing that we all have a responsibility to help others who need help. When they talk about they're all our children, what they literally mean is, no, we, the government, are more important than families. And that is a deep, deep schism and a deep break from American tradition. And we've seen it. You point out Washington State. We've seen other places where they want minors to be able to get gender change operations without the parents knowing. We've seen this in the pro-life movement where they wanted minors to be able to have abortions without letting their parents know, even when their teachers knew. This is a reshaping of the family and substituting government for parents in a way that is inconsistent with America's Judeo-Christian heritage and really bad for kids and families, the most essential building block of our nation. And so when they say they're all our children, they don't just mean, hey, we should help where we can. They literally mean, no, you parents are disconnected from those kids, and we, the government, will tell you what you can and can't do and how to raise your children and keep your family together.
Yeah, I mean, these terms, it seem just kind of benign, like we should protect children, now are there's two very different definitions of what that means in our country right now. What that might mean coming from me or Secretary Pompeo, and what that means coming from Joe Biden. Just saying that doesn't mean the same thing to the American people. To me, I think culturally, these are all issues we just have to face because they're important for our standing in the world. I do want to ask you about something going on in the world outside the United States right now, but it affects Americans. We're seeing another tragic situation unfold, this time in Sudan, where there was the embassy was evacuated, and we sent in the SEAL Team 6 and got our embassy employees out, but we left a lot of Americans behind. And you tweeted out that Susan and I, your wife, are praying for the American Sudan, especially our many pastors and missionaries and families serving there. They need our full support. We've seen a second American has been killed already. Why is the administration? I mean, the statement was, Secretary Pompeo, well, some of these people, a lot of these people are dual citizens, as if their American citizenship is somehow not the same as yours or mine.
I've seen this before. When I served as Secretary of State, I would hear from some on my team, hey, sir, don't worry that much. They're really dual citizens. And I would remind them that one of those passports was blue. It was an American passport. They were U.S. citizens, and we had as much responsibility for them as anyone else. Look, this in Sudan is tragic. It is an unraveling in a complicated place. And the fact that the administration couldn't get in front of this just reminds us all of what happened in the summer of 21 in Afghanistan. It demonstrates, again, this administration is not capable or thoughtful or prepared to lead in a way that can protect Americans to the maximum extent possible. We can't protect everyone everywhere around the world. There's no doubt about that, even Americans who are traveling. But to have this fall apart in this way that is so quick, so cataclysmic, so disjunctive, that we've got lots of Americans who do want to come back home is another sign that America's place in the world is diminished, and that saddens me greatly.
Secretary Pompeo, as always, we appreciate your insight. Our Senior Counsel for Global Affairs.